In this first episode of Askgsg Season 3, Chad and I try and tackle a piece of candy. Hi there everybody, this is Chris Schmidt from GrayscaleGorilla.com, where we create tools and training to help you with your motion design. So, this is the first clip pulled out from the first episode of Askgsg Season 3. If you're not familiar with Askgsg, once a week on Wednesdays, 1 p.m. Central Time, me and hopefully a guest try and tackle your Cinema 4D questions. People in the chat room on Twitch will ask us questions about Cinema 4D or some motion graphics pieces, maybe Photoshop, maybe some After Effects, and we try and brainstorm and figure out how to create it or details about it, or just brainstorm in general of techniques of how we might approach it. And we get to take questions straight from the audience. So if you ever want to join us, make sure to click the link below in the description, or I think maybe up here, and join us on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Central Time. So in this particular clip, Chad and I tackle a question from, what was it? It was Taco Indian in the chat, and he asked about wrapping up a piece of candy. So Chad and I brainstorm a little bit, and we just kind of tackle a bunch of different techniques. We don't get to a super finished product, but we talk about a whole bunch of different techniques for approaching it, and we get to use some dynamics to create some really cool twisting motion to actually wrap up the candy in a way that I did not think would work. So go ahead and watch it. Maybe you can see a little bit of the way our brains work and how we deconstruct things and our different approaches to how we might try and create this kind of thing. So I'll see you at the end. Let's go for the hi everybody, welcome to Askgsg. I'm Chris.
I'm Chad.
And we're going to jump on into the chat room and answer a question from Taco Indian. And he jumped us over to just an image of this piece of candy. So kind of just a wrapped piece of candy. I have no idea how well this will go, but I thought it was a cool experiment. So we can see how well we can make it. The specific question is, can we wrap a piece of candy and make it animated? Make it animatable? Is that a word?
Animatable, sure.
Animatable?
Yeah. Can we make it edible?
Tasty.
Maybe not.
Okay, so we're going to jump on into Cinema, and we're going to scoot spots here a little bit. Make sure I'm on the right screen. I am. Okay, and I have no idea if this will work, but we'll spend a few minutes trying it out. So, let's see. We're going to keep this so simple and clean. I'm going to make a sphere. I want even polygons, so I'm going to change it to an icosahedron. I'm going to go even lower on our poly count, which could be dangerous, but I'm going to... Yes, I'm going to copy, paste it, make this one editable, go to polygon, select all, T for scale, and I'm going to scale it out a little bit and maybe, I guess, flatten it a little bit, just a little bit candy shaped. So, I'm even going to keep this, I'm going to keep saying simple, but what you would do is truly a wrapper is a sheet of paper effectively, like a flat rectangle.
Are you going to do a cloth simulation?
We're definitely going to have to do some cloth for a little bit.
Okay.
But there's so many different potential things. I feel like
already like thinking of like a couple different ways that it could go.
But we could use a plane to do it, but I feel like just to save some steps, it would be the same idea. I want to just make it quicker. I'm going to make a cylinder instead, so that it's actually connected on both sides. That's going to save us a step or two. So I'm going to go ahead and make a cylinder, scale it up.
Okay.
And then now I'm going to turn off the caps. I think we can go ahead and turn off the caps.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm going to give us a... This probably is... I know I'm going to need it to be longer than I think it will, so I'm going to make it even go overboard there.
Oh, I know exactly what you're doing. That's
I'm not totally sure what I'm doing.
I know
so
where you're going with it. Are you going to do a mesh deform?
Well, no, actually. There's a chance of that we could get some fall off, but... well, let's just see what happens. First of all, I'm not even sure this will work, but I'm going to go ahead and...
That's what makes it so great.
Yeah, that's where these get fun. I'm going to right-click on the sphere. I'm going to make it a collider body, so it's dynamic, but it can't move. I'm going to grab our cylinder, I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to make it a soft body, and I'm going to save the scene file.
Yeah, that's probably step one.
When you're doing simulations, step one. All right, so it is a soft body. If I were to hit play, hopefully this will just fall and then catch on the candy. Okay, cool. Now... I actually don't want any gravity, so I'm going to hit Command D, which will pop open our project panel, go to Dynamics, go to Gravity, and set that down to 0.
I know exactly how we can do this.
And, okay, so now I'm going to try going to our cylinder. I'm going to go to our Dynamics on our wrapper. I guess I'll rename this wrapper. And I'm going to go to our tag, and I'm going to click on Soft Body, and I'm going to tell this to... scale down, and our scale is going to be rest length. So I'm going to say your rest length should be 50% of your current size. That's probably not the right number, but let's see what that does. And then you see right away it's going to scale it down. So now if you scale this down even further, like 25%, then that should start getting pretty tight overall. I got to be careful. And you see right there it's starting to get to like a freak out zone. So here's where I said like this probably is going to have to be much longer than I think it is. So I'm going to make this a lot longer, and unfortunately that does mean we need more segments. And I don't want to. I want it to run quick, but I'm going to drop our segments down a little bit, and we're going to start. I'm going to start frame by framing it.
I see where you're.
Okay, so already this is working well. I'm hopeful.
You know what we could do? Maybe you already had this idea. Well, go ahead.
Oh no,
I want to see where you go. I was going to say you could put two spheres on other.
That's a really good idea.
Have them rotating, and see if any. Then turn up the friction. You might be able to get some of that.
Go away, Siri. Yeah, I wonder. I was just going to use a end, or I was going to use a twist on the end. But if we go to, I want no bounce, lots of friction. So let's see what that does. It could be bad. Okay, that's too much friction. Let's go with 100. Don't go over. Okay, that's a little better. I also want everything's going really fast.
Yeah, dude.
So it's calculating really quick. So I want to slow this whole thing down. That is kind of just snapping to the smaller size, and that's what's causing the problem. So I like the scale we're dropping to, but we need to animate to that point. So I'm going to jump to 10 frames and say, yes, be that size. But at the beginning, be 100. So now we're going to give it a few frames to scale itself down. So it's a little smoother. And even that, like obviously that's still super quick. So now I can just drag this keyframe and start letting that shrink down. There we go. A little more. There we go. A little more reasonable.
See, that's great. Man.
Yeah, so that's working really well. And now, if we had the paper kind of wrapped around, I'm not sure if that would work as well here, but we can use this as maybe as a mesh deformer, and then we could do the wrapper. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay, so now our scale's looking pretty good. I think maybe this should be even a little smaller. What's cool is I can click that keyframe, and because there's only one number, I can go over here and just change it here. So I can drop that down to 15. So this will actually shrink down even further. And actually, the scale is not. It's not super far off. I might even just leave it there.
Close, yeah.
And then we actually kept our old sphere, so I'm gonna unhide that. Actually, we're gonna hide that for a second, and I'm gonna put this over here and probably shrink it a little bit, and then copy paste it. And let's be precise. Don't have to be, but I'll just go a negative 300 on that one.
Precision candy.
And I'm gonna steal the dynamics tag from here and here. And I'm going to move the cylinder on top. Simple scene, but move that on top. Let's see what happens now. Give it another save, play. Shrinks down. Okay, a little. It's getting there.
Close.
Okay, here. You know what we need to do? We need to tell these spheres that they don't have much friction.
Yep, a little less friction. And what if you would it break it if we started twisting them?
Well, I guess those would. Well,
but it's not self-colliding.
Oh, no, it's soft body, so it is.
Oh, well then, yeah, maybe those if those use signal to like constantly twist.
Yeah, well, they'll need the friction though.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying it isn't, but like already, see, this is really kind of good shape. And if we were to just say, okay, cool, we've just modeled that part of it, but of course, he said, well, when he said animated, he probably meant like a piece of paper like wrapping around it and doing its magical thing. I'm not going to worry about that, but we're just going to keep going where we are here. Now, you see, we got this nice little thing going there. I mean, the flare is good, and I guess even along those lines, I wasn't thinking about it, but I guess these both should be made editable and probably be made skinnier, so that you get the little bit of flare going on.
Rotate them, animate the
rotation. Yeah, we can try the rotation. I'm going to hit Alt-G to group them, go to Object Mode, and I'm just going to keyframe this. I always don't know which one's going to be. So it's B that we want to animate. So I'm going to. This is just such a good job for Signal. I'm going to use Signal.
There you go, man.
I'm going to make Signal. So Signal, Grayscale Gorilla plugin, Signal it's an animating tool. And we're going to be changing this number often, which is why I'm going to use Signal, because it's just going to save us too much time. I just want to rotate on B. So I'm going to grab rotation B, drop it on Signal, and I'm going to say linear, so it's going to be constantly moving. I'm going to say I want you to rotate, I don't know how much, let's say 90 degrees, and I'm going to say be additive, so it's just going to spin forever. I have no idea how fast that's going to be. Let's hit play, and now you can see, okay, they are rotating. You can see the speed that they're rotating. Really? So it's going very slow. Now, we do need the friction probably cranked up on these guys again, otherwise it's going to be sliding along. But even that, see, now that becomes an interesting question because if I have the friction up really high on these,
You might not need it. You could probably animate the friction.
no, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
So you see, it's no good here. But
Right.
if we animate the friction up to full power, so right now the friction should be cranked up, friction, but everything up to that point can be down to 0. I don't know if 0 is right, but let's see what that does. We're going to need more frames, obviously, and
Faster rotation.
yeah, definitely faster rotation. So I can shorten the time or speed up the rotation. I'm going to say 360, go 4 times as fast. We'll see what that does. Let's hit play. Okay, the friction is still quite low, but it's starting to crank. And there we go. So the friction is actually catching really well, and we're getting a very nice twist. Now, I do feel like at a certain point, these are just going to like explode.
Yeah, you could just like maybe stop it now.
No, we're going to keep going. I want to see the breaking point because it's actually still working incredibly well. I'm shocked. I'm shocked how well that's working.
Yeah, I mean, hide the spheres. Let's just see what it's doing.
So like this is working like
Look at that.
way too well. Yeah, that's really good. And then if we were, of course, to throw in maybe even just a nice simple subdivision, hopefully it doesn't break the dynamics. Yeah, so you're gonna fix that twist. So that's all working really well. I would even say like these candies should probably even be like a little closer.
Yeah, probably. But still, I mean, that's
It's
so
This is working so much better than I thought it would. So that I've constantly been impressed with the soft body dynamics.
Yeah,
like
that
they
is,
always
like,
just
what is the
kind of work.
difference? This has always annoyed me about cinema. Is like, what's the difference between that and cloth? When would you ever use cloth?
Cloth was just older. Cloth is older, and they left it in because it's legacy. But
it's so deceiving because to a new user, like, oh, I have to use cloth. That's what you would do here. But it's actually soft bodies. That's what you should be using.
I want to pull these both in a little bit, so I'm going to type in, I've got both selected on Z, X times 0.9. That might not be enough, but you see the boom, pop them in. It's actually kind of exactly what I wanted. So I did that little equation to see them. Now we can drop these back on. Oh, so our subdivision surface might give us trouble in the viewport. I think it's a bug. So I'm going to leave that off while this is calculating. I think at render time it's fine. It will work perfectly well. Now, we're getting... What I'm shocked here is that we have such a low poly count, and this is still working as well as it is. I would... If this had like 4 times the poly count, it would be running a lot slower, but there'd be a lot more detail for this to be kind of twisting and scrunching. And I mean, even here, like, okay, so these are animating around, but at a certain point, I'd almost want to like keyframe. Scooting these in was a little weird here, but at a certain point, at a certain point, you could keyframe these 2 spheres on the outside and animate them towards the center, so that this would actually scrunch in a little bit tighter. And even here, it's like, okay, well, and the meshes didn't friction as well this time. I'm not sure why. Maybe just because I moved them in that little bit.
Yeah, you did, because that's going to give it. It's going to be. You have to move those keyframes.
Yeah, this all needs to happen a little bit later, I guess.
Yes, later. So they slide in over.
They slide more.
They have more time to slide. Probably even later than that.
Oh, yeah, or even just shrinking this a little more. Like drop this down to maybe 12%, make it a little bit tighter.
And this is all procedural, right?
Yep.
Like you can go in and change the cylinder.
There we go.
And maybe.
So the high friction is now twisting that
so
around.
Now it's just a matter of like finding the right values.
Yeah.
And then you would stamp that. If it were me, I would stamp that down, like basically make it editable and then sculpt in all the nice little details.
Well, and then even there, I don't know how well a mesh deformer would work here. I'm actually just super curious, and this is going so well that why don't we even just do this as a quick test? Let's say this becomes like a mesh deformer. It's gonna snap down, which is where this might not work. But what I want to say is, I'm just curious. So we'll do it the clunky way.
I see what you're gonna do. You're crazy.
If we were to...
You're going to try to animate this thing into a wrapping, aren't you?
Well, the step that you would lead to that, so I'm going to leave this low poly, but if we were to take this and grab a bend deformer, put it inside the plane, rotate this down, and then we should be able to say fit the parent. Boom, it's going to snap to the parent. Right. And now I'm going to tell it to start spinning around until we're at the right kind of tightness here. Now, we obviously need a lot more subdivisions.
I guess I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, so
I thought I knew what you're doing.
So we do that, and then I think I spun it around too many times. Yeah, this is just too long of a sheet of paper. So I want this to not be. Let's go about 2,000, and now we can spin it half as many times, maybe. I guess it's still the same amount of spins. But if we take that and I take my bend deformer, and you have to picture it unwound. But if I were to take this and rotate it just a little bit, you see how we can get a spiral? So we got our nice little spiral going.
Oh, I see. So that's what you're going to swap it out?
Yeah, so this becomes that. And now what's cool is if we were actually to take this plane and group it, and then take the bend deformer and now make it a sibling of it instead of a child, you can actually take this plane and you can animate that. So I could take this and if I pull it the correct direction, this can go whoop and then spin up. So now that has happened, so let's say you were to keyframe that.
Timing out that, and then the simulation would start.
Yeah, so you do that, but then what I'm wondering is if we can take this now, and I'm just eyeballing this, but if we were to take that and then drop that over there, can we? I don't know if this will work.
That's what I thought you were going to do the first time.
Yeah, I'm going to grab I can never freaking find this mesh deformer. I'll drop the mesh deformer in there.
I bet this is going to break. But
probably.
If it doesn't, I'll be stoked.
Mesh deformer, calculating after the bend deformer. What I want to feed it is the candy wrapper, the cylinder wrapper.
Leaving it live is kind of sketchy.
It's fine. So I drop that in. And now that that's there, I'm going to say, actually, I'm going to go to advanced. I'm going to say surface area, initialize. Oh, and something weird.
It turned off the bend deformer or something.
It did something.
Wait, what did you feed it?
I fed it this, but this might need to be made editable. I'm not sure.
Yeah, because it will.
Well, I'm going to save this again. Let's add a 2.
Because it's not gonna. It won't know the
it's a mesh deformer, so I'm gonna say. I do have a trick to maybe get around that, but I want to remove variables. So I'm gonna make it editable. That doesn't actually change anything, and I'm gonna reinitialize. Nope, doesn't seem to have worked. If we turn that off, we get that. I want to eliminate variables here. I want to see if it works. So I want to create a connect, and I'm going to just throw these guys in here. I'm gonna make that editable. Now it is just it. Wait, why did that not work? I guess I'm going to make it a child. Make that editable. Now it's just that mesh. It's all zeroed out and everything. So now we put the mesh deformer directly. I'm going to turn that on. I want to feed it the cylinder wrapper. I'm going to say initialize. So that time it did work. So it didn't like that. You probably do a single keyframe swap where one turns on and the other turns off. But now I'm just curious if...
Well, I think it would. Well...
Now, if I play, it is actually working.
Right.
So you can see now we actually have this spiraled piece of paper, and that shrinks down. Now, obviously, that's not terribly useful where it does a shrinking process, but you could probably bake that down to a certain point where it's like, okay, right here it looks acceptable, continue from that point, and then kind of reverse engineer. But now we actually have this layered up wrapper, and running the dynamic simulation on this would be insane, but running it on the simple cylinder and then using the simple cylinder to then drive this more complicated mesh is going to give us all the same nice twists and everything. I probably didn't give it the same number of subdivisions. And now that actually takes us out of the subdivision surface. So that means that can now become a parent of this, which I keep misclicking. And so that subdivides, and it's not having any effect on the other mesh, and this mesh deformer is actually...
And one thing you could do, too, if you didn't want it to... Like, right now, it's pinching, like, so tightly. You could easily just throw a cylinder running through the entire candy.
Oh, yeah, totally.
And just kind of art direct how thick that twist would be.
And I think that twist is actually... This is a symptom not of our simulation. It's a symptom of... this actually is doing a really good job of maintaining volume. I didn't feed our twisted up plane enough polygons, so it's trying to it's trying to match it. And also, I didn't perfectly match how it's outside, so it's actually technically a little smaller. But then once you shrink this down to super tiny, those margins really matter. But I feel like we didn't specifically do everything here, but I feel like we hit all the principles of what we wanted to.
I'm really surprised we got it as close as we did.
Yeah, no, and this twisting and like just getting the shrink wrap working and all that, I'm super happy overall. I did not think that frictional twisting would work at all, and it totally did.
Yes.
Like it nailed it. And shrinking it in, a little cylinder through the center, pushing these in after the fact. Like there's so many things that we could just do to create that. But now, I try to picture modeling that, and that'd be like insane.
I mean, you could get pretty close, but it wouldn't just have that same look.
Yeah.
You'd be faking those twists, which is really hard
to do.
You'd
be like painting, this would be a straight cylinder, and you'd be like painting in these twists, which wouldn't be following the contours of it. And even here, you could take this and now say, okay, that's a model, subdivide it. Now you start using the modeling tool and start painting in wrinkles and paint in all the extra details, get these little things flopped out.
Looking crinkly and stuff.
So maybe on a different day we could try tackling, or even as a proper tutorial, try tackling a proper paper wrapping and all that. But just getting that, even that, I'm trying to picture, like, in a lot of commercials and all that. Like right now we're trying to picture in our head, like, oh, how would we transition from a sheet of paper into this? But if you watch any given like Nike commercial or any of those amazing ones, that stuff doesn't all happen in one shot. The shoe isn't made in one shot. There's a shot of like the wrapper flying in, and then it starts twisting a little bit, and then it cuts. You see like some chocolate falling, and it cuts back again, and suddenly you see these things on the side twisting on the
filmmaking.
Yeah, exactly. So there's cuts, there's edits. You don't have to make the entire thing
Seamless.
Literally make the entire thing seamless. You can go, okay, here was one rig, and this did the twisting, and then there's the next rig, and that does the shrinking, and then here's a different rig, it does the twisting. 3 different shots would look awesome.
Yep.
So, yeah, thanks for that question. That was super fun.
Yeah,
Whenever it works better than I think it will, that's a good question.
It's always a good thing.
But that was great. So thanks for watching this first episode of Askgsg Season 3. If you'd like to see more of these videos, make sure you subscribe, like the video. If you recreate any of this stuff kind of in your own, or your twist on it, or the way you've been thinking about it, go ahead and put those links in the comments so that we can see what you've been working on. If you want to catch us live, go down here in the description and follow us on Twitch or Twitter and Facebook to find out when we're going live, and then maybe we can try and tackle your question. If you want to catch more Askgsg, be sure to subscribe to us on Twitch, subscribe here on YouTube. We sometimes will clip out our favorite clips from the episode, put them on YouTube. You can check out the videos on demand on Twitch for I think 2 months until those disappear. And then we now have an archive where you can go and purchase past seasons of Askgsg, Season 1 and Season 2, and we have an ongoing Season 3. In addition to the videos, the entire episode from beginning to end, you get the scene files along with it. So that's a super great new thing that we've got that we wouldn't put together. So Askgsg could not happen if not for all the amazing questions we get and the really vibrant community in the chat room and where everybody hangs out, and we just try and figure these things out together. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in another clip from Askgsg. Bye-bye.